Hey guys, I'm Jamil Smith, Senior National Correspondent for MTV News.
I'm Anna Marie Cox, Senior Political Correspondent for MTV News. Jamil, I noticed we actually there's a joke about whether or not you plan to coordinate wardrobes.
Yes.
We plan to coordinate our wardrobes.
That we did.
We are both wearing lovely shades of purple.
And there's a reason for that, because MTV is supporting GLAAD. Today, it's Spirit Day. We're supporting LGBTQ youth and taking a stand against bullying. And speaking of bullying, we're here for the third presidential debate. So let's start with one of the terms that was used last night. Maybe not the headline today, but nasty woman?
It shouldn't be, but it was trending on Twitter. I think it was trending on Facebook, and it was, what a nasty woman, right? Like
yes.
That's the thing that Donald Trump managed to insert into a very odd place in the debate where Hillary Clinton was talking about taxes and Social Security like you do.
Yeah.
And he chose to lean in, what a nasty woman.
Such a nasty woman.
Such a nasty woman. I guess, they are the people that go along with the bad hombres.
Oh, right. Exactly.
They're nasty women and bad hombres.
We're going to see a spike at Halloween time of women dressed like Janet Jackson. And maybe
probably
perhaps
some very dangerously not PC bad hombres.
Yeah, that's going to be bad.
That is
Don't
also
do that.
how our
Don't do
restrooms are labeled at MTV News: bad hombres and nasty women.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
anyone can use whichever one they want, however you identify. It's totally fine.
Exactly.
But let's get on to the debate.
Yes. So the debate, he kept on with this line about, Hillary, you were in government for 30 years. Why didn't you do anything to stop me, guys like me, from taking advantage of the tax system, from
doing anything? But he kept on referring to this, like, you've been in government for 30 years, like, why didn't you do X, Y, Z?
Right.
I know that sometimes American citizens are not super up on civics, and they don't have a really sophisticated understanding of American government, but I think everyone realizes that when she was, like, First Lady of Arkansas, she couldn't have been fighting ISIS.
And also,
which didn't exist.
And also, perhaps, you should understand how government works, what senators do, what First Ladies of Arkansas do, what First Ladies of the United States do, if you're running for President of the United States.
And that, for instance, senators can't single-handedly do anything about tax policy either.
Wait. Senators can't, by fiat, impose new tax policy to prevent rich guys like Donald Trump from taking advantage of the tax code?
They can't specifically know what people like Donald Trump are doing, and then go in and stop them from doing it. And also, there's supposed to be something that was called, like, self-responsibility, like being responsible for your actions, not saying, like, well, I did a bad thing, and you made me do it.
Right. We were talking about this earlier. It's like an abuser's tactic, right?
Yeah, it is. Like, to say, like, you're right, I did this awful thing, you should have stopped me. That is a classic abuser's tactic, and it's not the only one he uses.
Right.
The other one he does is gaslighting.
Yes, which is trying basically to escape any kind of accountability for your bad actions by making the other person think that they are crazy for even bringing them up or accusing you of having done them.
It's the straight-up denial of things that you know to be true. It's the straight-faced, just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. Wrong.
Right.
Wrong.
I didn't say these things about nuclear weapons that you claim that I said. Where are you getting that quote?
Yeah.
And then, like, 5 minutes later, it's, the video from national television is everywhere. I mean, what is he doesn't even seem to care if he gets away with a lie, just sort of like just trying to, escape it however he can in that moment.
Now, the thing about being a bully/abuser is that it's someone with a very thin skin and a very big ego. Mm-hmm. And those people can always be baited very, very easily.
Right. I mean, what about, like, a lot of people are saying that how she, turned his tactics on him.
I'm not sure if it was exactly turning his tactics on him, because I don't think that she interrupted him. I'm sure when we see the account of what the interruptions were, we're not going to see account that hers interrupting him as much as he interrupted her.
I actually saw one. She was in the single digits and he was at 37.
Right.
From last night, which actually seems low for him.
Right, and so she didn't do that. I think the only thing that you could say that she did that was like him is that she did needle him, but it was so, and it was not very subtle.
No.
But you know what? You don't have to be subtle with him. Like,
right.
I mean, I've always wondered, like, ever since he started doing this, like, stunt invitee to the debates, like inviting the women that accuse, Bill Clinton of sexual assault, inviting Barack Obama's brother. I've wondered, like, why does he think that will bother her? Because, like, she's cool, calm, and collected. Why does he think, like, Obama's brother? Does he not realize who he's running against? And now I realize why he does it.
Why?
Because it would bother him. Because he's so easily rattled, and she did it last night repeatedly. She did it with the references to his using Chinese steel.
Right.
She did it with the reference to him choking, which is a very Trumpian word. In fact, he
He
said
was
that
actually
about her.
pretty sedated during the first half hour of the debate last night. He was kind of, he didn't really jump on her with any personal attacks. He just kind of said what he does and, talked about his platform a little bit. But then she said something about him being having choked during his trip to Mexico to meet with the Mexican president, and boom.
Yeah, and you can see like his eyes, which are already really squinty, kind of get even more squinty when he gets a little rattled. And the other moment that I thought was really an interesting use of baiting him, I'm not sure if she intended to do it or not, but like when she called him Putin's puppet,
right?
And he very weirdly said, I believe that exact quote is not a puppet, not a puppet.
Or
you're the puppet.
Yeah, like we're back in 5th grade or something.
He really his debate strategy is literally I'm rubber, you're glue.
Yeah,
like, that is the extent to which he studied rhetoric or anything like that.
And I mean, it actually applied to what he said last night about building a wall. His defense, for that policy essentially was that Hillary Clinton was for building a wall before I was for building a wall.
And why didn't you do it 30 years ago?
And why didn't you do it? And you're so ineffective at building walls. And that was just a bizarre defense. And I think that might even confuse his supporters. I mean,
right.
Wait a minute, Hillary Clinton was for building walls too? Then
yeah.
all the stuff that he did last night or had done in previous debates to animate his own supporters, to get them fired up, I don't know if he really accomplished it last night.
Well, a lot of times it sort of sounds, if you're not really closely following the alt-right, if you're not really embedded in the debate,
right.
The larger debate, not the one debate last night, then he said stuff that probably you wouldn't have recognized and weren't familiar with and you wouldn't have followed. It made him sound like he's speaking gibberish.
Right.
And he'll return to this stuff like, you're the one that incited violence, which there is this tape out there from this so-called underground guerrilla journalist that people on the right are really excited about, which you can check out if you want it.
Knock yourselves out.
Some Democratic operatives caught on tape talking about sending people to rallies. But most people would not understand what he was talking about,
right.
and probably think, what does this have to do with me?
And also, it just comes off because a lot of people don't understand what he's talking about, it comes off as a deflection of blame for the violence at his rallies, right. for the stuff that he's saying and inciting. Look, every, casual consumer of political media understands that, hey, there's been a lot of violence at his rallies, and it's been instigated in for the most part by his own supporters.
That's right.
And by his own rhetoric, and justified by his own rhetoric.
And only one of the candidates has talked about paying the legal bills of people who commit violence at his rallies. Only one candidate has talked about punching people in the face. Only one candidate has talked about shooting people on Fifth Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real, if you're talking about violence, it's not even really a contest of which candidate is using that kind of rhetoric, and not just rhetoric. It
right.
is talking about actual, physical, acts of violence. We have not talked about any of the real headlines, though.
Yeah, we've kind of buried the lead here.
Right. We've talked about some of the stylistic things. We've talked about some of the things that were trending on Twitter. But I would say that there's one huge headline and then some subsequent ones. The big headline
is the fact that when asked by Chris Wallace, the moderator, whether or not he would basically, concede the election if he were
recognize the results.
Just recognize the results. Really, not even concede. Recognize the results of the election. He waffled.
Yeah.
He wouldn't commit to it. He said that basically we'll have to see when we get there.
He said, I'll hold you into, there has to be some suspense, as though this was a freaking reality show, Sweeps Week,
right.
which it's not. Newsflash for people, you don't want your democracy to be exciting.
Right. You want it to be boring.
Yeah, when we talk about civil service, people make fun of civil service, people make fun of having government jobs.
Right.
They're supposed to be boring. You're not supposed to think of government as a real exciting place. You know where government's exciting? Places where there's not democracy.
Right.
That's exciting. Those are exciting places to watch your government.
Yeah, this is not about ratings. This is not, this is not about actually getting people to tune in and say, wow, I really want to see what happens in the next episode of the Trump campaign.
Right, exactly. There is no final rose. There is actually election, and you concede and it's over. I want to say that's the big headline, and that's the one that you should be talking with your friends and family about.
Definitely.
Because that is something that never happened in American history, that there has been a candidate that has not recognized the lawful results of the election. When someone tries to bring up Al Gore to you, remind them that was a legally disputed election that was overseen by the courts.
Right.
That was adjudicated in the courts.
Yes.
By public professionals and people from both sides.
And the fact that Al Gore
there was
actually
not an
did
accusation
concede.
of voter fraud. There was not an accusation of voter fraud. There was simply a recount Which is very different.
Very different. And the implication of voter fraud, we actually should talk about this, is extraordinarily dangerous. I mean, if we're talking about actually basically saying that our elections are invalid, our elections are somehow rigged, all this stuff is actually, you know, undermining faith in our own democracy. It's undermining faith in the American project. And really, to see a person running for president doing that is astounding to me. Right. And it's insisting incorrectly, by the way, that undocumented immigrants are voting. You know,
that people are getting paid to vote
they
multiple
can't vote.
times.
Yeah.
And that this is happening where Jamil?
It's always happening in the cities where certain people.
Inner cities.
Oh, in the inner cities.
Right.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
So I actually want to add one more thing before we go, which is that Hillary Clinton did something that no other candidate has done, I think, no other presidential candidate has in a debate, which she gave a full-throated and forceful defense of the right for a woman to control her body.
Yes.
And not to carry a pregnancy to term if she does not want to.
Yes. No forced birth. And she put it in those terms.
Yep.
And I thought that was actually really important, that, you know, basically not just that, okay, women should have, you know, access to abortions and reproductive care, but that essentially the way standing in the way of that is forcing women to have births that they do not choose to have.
Which is something that women understand intuitively, but doesn't always get talked about.
Right.
So those are our headlines.
Yes.
I wanted one last pitch for you guys. I know this can get really depressing. I know that people, they talk over each other, and it seems like a nasty election, and it seems like there's like you want to tune out. Don't tune out.
Please don't tune out. And make sure that you're registered to vote in your state. If you have to vote, you know, if you can vote early, make sure you vote early. Get it done. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till you're in a line. Make sure you get it done.
Yeah, Google has been really helpful with this. You can see if you're registered to vote. You can see where to register to vote, and you can find out how to report any problems at your polling places. Not many days left.
Right. And no matter how you're voting, make sure that you do it.
Yeah.
All right.
We will be here with you throughout it.
All right, folks. Thanks. We're signing off from UNLV. See you again soon.